And today we have a lot to talk about. As I said, the energy is becoming stronger. Now, this energy can be used for good. Remember that. Powerful energy can be used for good. And you know what keeps coming to me? This is so funny to me that one of my students with the university who has these Hawaiian essences, Shanti Kai, she sent me all these beautiful essences, and this one is shooting stars. I think that's, I don't think she knew I had this program going on, and I'm sure she made this essence a long time ago, but it's like, it describes exactly what I feel like we want to be doing here. And the shooting star flower essence is to, number one, know your purpose. Number two, connect with your higher self. And number three, experience feelings of belonging. Is that not what we're here to do in this class? Exactly, everything. So as we all know, there's no coincidences in this world. Everything happens for a reason. And everything happens the way it's supposed to. It's always leading us to our highest good and evolvement. And I believe everything that's happening in the world, even with the stars and all the chaos that appears to be chaos, is always doing one thing: evolving and helping us grow and helping the world grow. It's all about everything is evolving, getting better. And it may not seem like it sometimes, but it always is, because everything happens for a reason. So I brought out my list of things for us to talk about today. And well, the first thing is I pulled the picture from my book of symbols. And this one is very symbolic. And as a matter of fact, I had to look up a few symbols, and I think you're going to truly understand what this is trying to tell us. So let me pull up my symbol today. And look at that for just a minute and think about, before I tell you what I see in it, what you think this could possibly mean. So let me tell you what I think it means. Well, the first thing that I can't help but notice is there's 3 circles. And what does a circle represent? That's going to be the most powerful symbol for this. But I want you to think about looking at this. It is the modern with the old. The modern being the RVs, the cars, and in the inner circle, not the second circle, we have the old stagecoaches. That's what it looks like to me. Maybe it's not, but it looks like something from, more, years before. And the people in the middle, they're in a circle. So circle is the symbol today, and people coming together. Now, let me tell you what the symbol of the circle means. I looked it up and I got all these wonderful meanings that we all pretty much understand and know. What is a circle? It's unending. It's a completion of cycles. It means you're coming full circle. It deals with protection, inclusion, wholeness. And I also found that it's a symbol of revolution. That was something that came up. But remember, there's such as the thing of the cycle of life. It's circular. Everything comes to an end and a beginning. What ends begins. Endings are beginnings, and beginnings are endings. Limitless things, eternity, and most of all, it means unity. and infinity and wholeness. And you know, what I tell all my students that practice astrology with me, I tell them they have to use the glyphs, which are symbols. And in Vedic astrology, they don't use that. They use the abbreviations for the word, which is definitely easier for an outsider to understand that ME is Mercury, SU is Sun, MO is Moon. But I tell my students to use the symbols. Why? Because symbols activate the subconscious mind. And I believe when we look at the symbols, it activates our intuitive powers. So that's one of the reasons why I tell my students, you have to use the glyphs. And in Western astrology, they do use the glyphs. But if you consider this, I also found this when I was looking up the symbology of the circle, that the sun symbol, the glyph, and actually the planetary symbols, astronomers use this. So it's not just astrologers, it's astronomers. But these symbols are so important, such as when I looked up it had the symbol for the sun, and the sun symbol, its glyph, is a circle with a dot in the middle. And what that actually means is the dot stands for the centralized power that governs all universe encompassed within the circle. So you can see just by that little simple symbol, it is so meaningful. And actually Venus is a circle with a cross on the bottom, which means the cross brings it down to earth. And the circle means infinity. And I believe Venus's symbol actually represents love, bringing love down to earth, the infinity of bringing it down to the manifestation of this earth. So what I'm really talking about is symbols. But the circle is such a powerful symbol. Consider this, the flower of life. It's said 19 or seven overlapping circles, and it symbolized the symmetrical flower, which represents creation. And if you think about so many other symbols with the circle, you can think of yin yang, with the two sides to it. But the circle, it actually lacks beginning and it lacks end. And I love that symbology of wholeness, never ending, universal. It has no sides or corners. It's wholeness. So this is a very, very powerful symbol. And here's what I want you guys to do for the next week coming up. Look for symbols. And that's what we do when we pull up the picture from my book of symbols. We were looking at symbols. But what I think this picture means, to get back to the relevance of this picture, is there's people in the middle holding hands in a circle. And that means bringing humanity together from the past to the current, or through modern times, through old times. We have so much to learn from the past. That's what I think this can mean. Yeah, these are stagecoaches. I'm looking at it. And it's people that need to come together and heal the past, and bring what we have recognized and what we have learned from the past and bring it to the future. And that's actually what I train all my students to do when they do astrological research. Go back and look when that aspect happened before, so that you can better learn what it will bring in the cycle in the future. So this is really a symbol of cycles, but it's about cycles from the past and humanity. And I want to share something else with you, which I normally don't look at the picture that's on the back, but it's, like I said, there's no coincidences. And I think this picture that's on the back gives more meaning to the picture that we're just looking at. Let me show you this picture of symbols. And what I'm showing you, I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit of glare there. But you see, on the top of a building in a very modern city sits something old from the past. So really what this is telling us about, here's an old log cabin from the past there in the middle of the modern. And what's interesting is what's modern's on the outside and what's old is on the inside. And the people coming together, somehow there's got to be a healing of the past that will heal the future. That's what I'm seeing with this. And we can do this. So we've got to heal our past in order to heal our future. I mean, that's a lot to get out of these pictures, isn't it? But this is so meaningful. And I want to know if anybody, before I move on from these pictures, I'll give you an opportunity to share what you may see in this picture, because I think this is very symbolic. So I'm saying that people have to come together and recognize, and probably recognize possibly some of the mistakes we've made in the past. And that teaches us how to change our future, make our future brighter and make our future better. But we can do this also not alone, but together, because these people are holding hands. They're not in a complete circle yet, but they will be. And that means they're coming together to complete that circle in the middle. They're not quite together yet. But this also means that we can do this not alone, but together. It's a group project that we're here to heal, and we've got to help each other along the way. Healing our past so that it can better give us a better life in the future. Isn't that interesting? How the past, and really, if you think about the circle is unending. It is the alpha, the omega, it's the beginning, it's the end. And there's also the symbol in Vedic astrology of infinity, of the serpent that is biting its tail, and that's healing and completion. So the circle means that we're coming together to heal all this, that we will be, as the symbol represents, it deals with inclusion. So that's one thing we have to understand, to help other people feel inclusive. And I'm sorry, I didn't turn off my email, so ignore those noises. But it deals with limitless things, eternity, unity, wholeness. That's what we're all here trying to achieve, and that's what healing does for us. So this is about our protection, and it deals with how we are coming together. It governs our universe, and there is no beginning. Remember this, there's no beginning, there's no end. That's what the circle represents. So before I move on to the astrology, I want to give anyone that has any ideas that I missed out that you can add to this or to this. Any thoughts that you want to add or say about these symbols and how this symbol's here to help us understand our life today?
Hi, Joni. This is Dana. I'm driving, so I can't reach my thing. But anyway, so this, I think you're spot on. For me, I was in this group. I was considered maybe more of a delinquent as a teenager. And so there was this group called Vision Quest that I ended up being emancipated as a young child, and I had to go into this group, and they did wagon trains. And the wagon train across the country would always end, and it was these kids who had to, learn how to manage the wagon train. But so then we'd always end in a circle, and we'd all hold hands in the middle. And then the camp guides, or whoever they were, the counselors, would all be in the RVs around us. And it was all about healing your traumas, all of the things that happened to you as a child. And the vision quest was all about that. And it was always about the circle. It was about the north, south, east, and west. But that symbol, I swear, it's probably, to me, it looked like, oh my gosh, that's a vision quest circle. There's, the people in the circle, the wagon trains around them, the RVs around them. So anyways, when you're saying coming together, healing, unity, inclusion, I mean, I was on my own. That's why I went there. But a lot of the other kids, and I was 14, but a lot of the other kids there were there because they were on their own. They had joined gangs or whatever it was they were. So it was truly about healing and inclusion. I know it's not what the thought process that you had, but for me, everything you said totally resonated and made sense with what you're saying based on what I'm visioning the vision quest circle to be with this wagon train. Anyways, it was just so interesting. So that's the one side that I wanted to input on. Thank you.
I am so glad you said that. I had no idea about a wagon train like that.
Of wayward kids around the country.
It's gotta be that's what that is.
I swear it is. And then the circle of the people at the end. Yep. Every night we had to hold hands and do a circle. And yeah. And then the counselors didn't have to sleep in the dirt. They got the RVs, right?
I see. How funny. I mean, I had no idea that's what that was, but this makes total sense. Of course, that's what this is. How symbolic that I kind of picked up on what you guys were trying to accomplish with these. Why was it a wagon train? Do you know why?
Well, there were certain ones. There was a wagon train, which is original, and it's like how to make the mule go and how to, they're trying to teach kids resilience. There was one called Ocean Quest, which a bunch of kids died. This was the 80s. I don't even know if Vision Quest is still around, but the Ocean Quest, it wasn't a good idea to have the teenagers try and, man the boat in the ocean. So that didn't go well. I was one called it was a wilderness quest where we had to hike literally for weeks. One kid died on in my program too. They had to airdrop food and water. It was crazy, back in the days when no one wore helmets, right? So Vision Quest was the name of it all. And like I said, I don't know if it's still around, but it was in Tucson is where they were headquartered in Arizona. But I swear that's exactly what this is. And it was all about healing and finding your way in the world to be a better adult if you ever made it that far.
That's amazing. I mean, you really helped me figure this thing out. Thank you.
Oh, good. I was wondering if I should say anything, but I figured I would.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you did. This makes so much more sense. I sat here and stared at this picture for 10 minutes going, what does this mean? And I came up with kind of what I guess it's about, the vision quest.
Totally.
Unity, healing, the circle, the past, but healing the past. I bet they didn't even know with putting maybe they did, the old stagecoach kind of vehicles being the past and the RVs being the future, that when we heal our past, we heal our future, and we have to come together to help one another. So anyone else see anything else in that? I think that's amazing. Thank you so much, Dana.
Dana, that's amazing.
You're welcome.
It's really strange. This whole week I've been trying to get an email to you for my Zoom, and it's for this reason. It's this group for me is like an inner healing. It's for whatever reason, I didn't even really know that, but this whole week I've been thinking about this trip to Peru that I should book, and my husband's even all about it. He's like, let's go, let's do it, and it's all about healing old traumas and things like that. So that's how it hit me. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Marcy. And I'm glad, I didn't get your email till last night, but we took care of you. Thank you. All right. Anyone else add to that?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll add something.
Okay, Joan, go ahead.
When you were talking about it, I had an idea of what I wanted to say. And then when Dana said that story, I said, oh my gosh, it makes a lot of sense. Because what I had seen was that the caravan, like you had the stagecoaches, but then you had the RVs on the outside. And I said, it's kind of like we're using the future technology or the present technology, the more future than the stagecoaches, the technology we have now to encircle the old. So it's like it protects it, or it helps it to evolve. But then when she said that the camp counselors got to stay in the RVs and they were all nice and comfy, and the kids who are going through this transformation had to sleep out in the stagecoaches, I said, that's interesting, because the thing I got was that we shouldn't use our future technology, to be greedy and to not do the job that it's supposed to do, which is to protect and continue this quest forward, but using the past and all the knowledge we learned from the past and bring that forward, instead of just kind of like, oh, well, I made it to the outer limits here. I'm the big kahuna, and well, you guys can just, fend for yourself. It's more like they have to use the new technology to help the people up.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that, Joan. But something else came up when you mentioned about the young people having to be in the old stagecoach things, and the older people were in the more technological. Well, that can deal with the younger with the past, and the older with the future, which is kind of the opposite of what it should be, because that the youth should be our future and the older people are our past. So I don't know how that symbol can kind of be relative to, I guess what that could mean to me. And we didn't even know this. Dana let us know about this. We're taking this to another level. But I would think that the young need to learn, well, the old need to learn from the young, and the young need to learn from the old. So coming together, I think I have learned so much from my son, especially. I couldn't even be doing all this technology if it wasn't for him, right? Thank God for that. So I learned from him, but of course he learns from me. But what I always tell people, I read people's charts like when a baby's born, and they ask me to tell me all about that baby's life, what its gifts and purpose and all of that is. And I always tell the parents, remember this. This is so important, besides putting them in good schools. I always tell them that. But the other thing that I feel like is so important to remember, your children will not learn through what you say, but they will learn through what you do. Always, always remember that. And, it was always like, do what I say, not what I do, was kind of the old adage from years ago. But that's not right. Children are going to learn by what we're doing, not by what we're saying. So that is how the young and the old can learn from each other. So that's my little additional tidbit that I got from what both of you, Joan and Dana, are saying. So anyone else want to add to that before we move on to the planets and other things?
Hi, Jenny. Hi, Joni. I don't know if you hear me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Janine. Go ahead.
Okay. What I got out of that is that the American Indian, they say that the circle has the energy, like it has a beginning and it has a end, and those are experiences that we have in life. It begins and we're living it, and it ends. And then they say that when people do not experience what they're living, when they don't have the experience to the fullness of it, then the energy gets stuck in your body. And then and that energy creates pain and creates sickness. So when you say about healing, when you talk about healing, I can see that the experiences, good or bad experiences, when they are not lived to the fullness, then it is stuck in your body. Mm-hmm. And then it creates, it creates sickness and, like that. So experiences, so the circle, the American Indian, they are making it's very big in their culture because of the beginning and the end, because of the experiences that has to be lived into the fullness of it, and like that. So this is what I get out of.
Yes, and I like the way you brought back the American Indian, because, they were so in touch with the earth, which we are so out of touch, and they were great healers. Absolutely. I always listen to the wisdom from the American Indians. They were so far ahead of us. And, in essence, American Indians were the ones that were so grounded and not part of technology or the future, but at the same time, they were so wise, and they had the wisdom, while we may have the technology, but we're not grounded through the technology. So we have to combine the two. We have to come from wisdom. And, we couldn't be having this wonderful class right now if it weren't for technology. So I bless and thank the world for that as well. So thank you, Janine, for adding a lot of input to this. Anyone else before we move on? Okay, well, I think we got the symbol. So once again, let me repeat what the message of my book of symbols is trying to tell us. Let me put it in a nutshell, that we are infinite, we are whole, we are complete. That's the circle. And we can learn from the past in order to change our future, to make ourselves better. So that is definitely a healing of our past, so that we can change our future. And that is definitely part of the law of attraction. As whatever our past has been, that creates our reactions. But if our reactions are not what we want them to be, to create what we want in our future, we got to become conscious and aware of what our initial responses are, based on something probably that we didn't like in our past. And now is the opportunity to change it. So we have to change our beliefs. Like we said last week, we're working on our beliefs, changing them, our thought processes, because we do have control over our thoughts, and we have the ability to change ourselves through changing our beliefs of our past. And that changes our thoughts, and that heals our life. So that's part of what I'm seeing in here. But the past has a lot to teach us. Now, another thing is, before I move on to what I want us to work on this next week, I wanted to share something that I've shared before in a lot of my videos when I've talked candidly to people on YouTube, is that, again, and I want a little feedback here. Again, I've been having so many dreams constantly of people from the past. And that happened right before the pandemic hit. And that meant to me that the spirit world, my loved ones that are on the other side, are trying to tell me something again, that something's about to happen on Earth. So I just want to ask, you don't have to go in any long dissertation or anything. Have any of you been having dreams lately of people that have passed on? Lots of dreams about people on the other side?
Yes, Joni, a lot of them. Especially
Really?
these past few nights, the energy has been really, really intense.
Me too.
And that too, people I've never really thought of. Like my father, I always think of, right? I can understand if I have a dream about him. But this is like his friend and his friend's wife, who I knew when I was a child in Kuwait, and grew up together. But I haven't thought of them in so long. They both passed away, and they have been coming into my dreams this past 2 nights very vividly and talking to me. Typically, when I have dreams, I see, it's like I'm observing things. I'm not engaging with anybody in the dream, but this is like they were sitting in front of me and speaking, which was very weird. But the same thing happened, like you said, 2 years ago during that 2020 planetary energy too. But that was different people. This is different. But it was very, I can't remember exactly what they said, but I remember it was more like a warning, not in a scary way, but like be prepared kind of way. But I called my mother and I was like, do you remember them? Because it's been a long time. I never thought about them since my childhood. And she said, yeah, they both passed away last year. And I was like, yeah, I've been dreaming about them. I never even thought about them, but you're absolutely right. It's been happening.
Yeah. And the past 2 nights for me as well.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else have this experience?
Hi, Joni, this is.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I want to hear from both of you. Go ahead.
Should I speak?
Yeah, Romini, go ahead. Yes. I
Yeah,
love your
hi.
article,
So
by the way, with the tarot cards in my magazine. Beautiful
Thank
article.
you.
Thank you, Rukmini.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that article. It was a
Yeah.
nice article.
Thank you
Nice,
so
beautiful
much.
pictures.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, so, when you talk about dreams, I've been getting this for a week now, just not last 2 nights or so. I lost my father last month.
Aw.
And ever since, I've been, it's weird dreams, and it's nothing, there's nothing positive about those dreams. So I can't really talk about anything which I think through the day. I luckily don't think through the day about those dreams. The moment I wake up, it's over. But I have been continuously, getting these dreams over the past few days. And it's about people who have passed away, people who I have not seen. I mean, my father's brother, who was my uncle, and my father lost him when he was when he was a baby. So even those kind of dreams.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, I can't explain.
Yeah.
I can't explain why I'm getting these dreams, but astrologically, honestly, I thought I'm a Cancer ascendant, a moon in Cancer, and obviously Sun is in the 12th house. So probably I thought, somewhere it's connected, because Sun, I lost my father, and it's in the 12th house of dreams. So probably, that way it's connected.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I'm just trying to draw some connection there.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that means a lot coming from you. So there's something we're being warned about. That's what I know with this. Anyone else? I know there was someone else wanted to say something.
Yeah, I keep getting the message, and actually the guides said to me yesterday, and I love this line. They said, the winds of change are upon us. And I mean, I think some of it is, you've been talking a lot about the end of July, but I keep getting the message about 3D collapsing. And when you were showing the circle in the imaging before, I feel like when we're really attached to that 3D energy, it's chaotic.
Mhm.
And then when we go deep within in that healing circle and people holding hands in the simplicity of life, there's so much abundance. And so it's sort of a reiteration of what you've been talking about, what Pam Gregory was talking about, what my guides have been sharing with me, is that there is some change, it's coming, and not to be afraid, because the things that are being dismantled are not really serving us. And so it may be a bumpy ride, but when we really tap into that divine connection, there's so much love and abundance for everybody. And I love the imagery, because that's what I was seeing. And I have had really full dreams. We have a full moon coming up tomorrow, and I guess there's a lot of solar flares also coming up. And I think it's a time of releasing the things that don't serve us. And I do get a sense of feeling some kind of preparation. Like, I don't know what it's about, but I feel like there's something that we're gearing up. It's like, when you're in a boat and the rapids are coming, you kind of have to like get your oar together, and you know that something's ahead, but we just don't know what it is really right yet.
Yeah, so beautifully said, Deborah. That was amazing. Okay, anyone else want to add to that?
I had a weird dream.
Yes.
I don't get a lot of dreams like this, but it's funny. I was just texting my friend my dream as you were talking about dreams. So I thought, okay, I need to share my dream. So it was a very flat, a big little piece of land. It looked like a desert with stones. Maybe there was some cactus, if I remember correctly. It was a quick flash of a image, and it looked like the earth was putting out these stones, like a geyser or like landmines. And then another one, you know, like 10 feet away, and then further, maybe 30 or 50 feet away. And the earth was just spitting out these stones, like a volcano without lava. And I didn't know what to make of it. So I was perplexed when I was being shown this. So I woke up, you know, when you're in a dream and if something really stimulates you, it's hard for you to stay in dream state. So I was kind of pushed into awake state, and I thought to myself, let me try to figure out why I was shown that. I'm wondering if it's an earthquake that's coming. Just being symbolic. I don't know.
Hold on, Karen. I'm going to mute everyone, and then I'm going to let you speak because, so unmute yourself. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect, because there was somebody else, some static coming through. Go. What were you just saying?
I was actually, before you brought up the dream thing, I was texting my friend Annette, and I wanted to share my dream because she gets dreams. She's a prophetic dreamer. So I was already sharing it on a text when you brought this up. And then I'm not usually a sharer, kind of keep to myself quiet. So I thought, you know what, maybe I need to share this, because how serendipitous that she's asking about dreams while I'm actually sharing one on a text message. So she hasn't written back yet, but she's a shaman and very prophetic person. So I'm wondering if she's getting something similar. But what I saw was just a quick flash. It was these stones that were erupting like landmines or like a volcano, small volcanoes that didn't have any lava, but just stones that were being pushed out of the earth. And it wasn't huge. It was like, you know, little sections of this long desert that I could see maybe 50 feet. There might have been 4 or 5 explosions of these stones. And then I was so intrigued by the dream that it woke me up, because you know when you're in that transcendental state or that theta, beta, whatever that is, you know, you kind of get pushed out of it when you get stimulated. So I was intellectually stimulated by this being shown to me. I was thinking, and it brought me awake. And I thought, whoa, was this a message that we're going to have an earthquake, or is this just symbolic? The earth is going through changes. So I don't know, maybe one of you could interpret that, but if not, then it's just probably symbolic of so many changes happening.
Well, I think it's definitely symbolic of so many changes happening. And thank you, Karen, for speaking out. I'm so glad that you're with us. I haven't seen you in a while since all the conferences that we attend together.
Yeah. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. So anyone know about dream interpretation more than we do, to tell Karen anything specific that you get from what she just had her dream about last night? Okay, well, I guess the interpretation lies that there is a huge change coming. And yes, definitely earth changes are coming, because there's so many things with this aspect. And that's what I want to do right now. I want to share the screen and show you the charts. The chart for today, because that will answer a lot of questions. So as you guys know that have been attending this Shooting Star series, what we do is we look at the symbol, we relate it to our life, then we talk about a message before I finish and give everyone the floor. But we look at the planets. So I want to show you what's going on today. This will help us understand better what we're trying to decipher, I believe. So let me share my screen. And here is the chart for today. And those of you that know astrology, you'll tune right into this, but let me explain it for those that don't know astrology. So I always pull up a chart for today when we start this class 12 noon. I'm in Dallas, so that's why that's the data that's in there. And you know, every single week when we do this, the ascendant moves a little bit further on in the zodiac. So when we first started this class, I think the ascendant was somewhere in Gemini, then it moved into Cancer, because remember, the ascendant we're doing it for 12 noon, but as the year progresses, so does the ascendant for the time that we're pulling up. But aside from all that, we now have the ascendant in Virgo. Probably next week it'll be in Virgo as well. But the ascendant is what starts the chart. It is the sign that's rising on the eastern horizon for this time that we put in. And with it being Virgo, the reason why I think this is so important, for those of you that do know astrology, if you have a Virgo rising, Mars is a first-rate malefic for anyone that has Virgo as their rising sign, because it not only rules the 3rd house, which can be a little problematic, but it rules the 8th house. And I always tell people, now this doesn't always work, but for most people with a Virgo rising ascendant sign, they have problems with their siblings. Why? Because the ruler of the 3rd, Mars, which is actually the Karaka, meaning indicator of brothers and sisters, also rules the most difficult house, the 8th house. But in this particular chart, Mars is in the 8th house, ruler of the 3rd, and it's a ruler of the 8th in the 8th with Uranus and Rahu. And it's coming up here where it's, you know, by the end of this month, it is going to be, all 3 of those planets are going to be precisely the same degree at 24 degrees of Aries. This is huge. I mean, what on earth was that? Maybe that was symbolic of what I'm talking about. That there's going to be a catastrophe. So let me, you know what? I'm going to stop the share and mute all again, and then go back to sharing the screen. Sorry about that, guys, but we don't need all these interruptions. So Mars being with Uranus, Rahu, and like I said, they in 1855, when they came together before in Aries, they never came to the exact degree. So the intensity of the exact degree, I think, is what's going to add to the chaos that this aspect is going to bring into the world. Now, also today, Saturn went back into Capricorn. It's going to be there till about the 17th of January. And I think Saturn reverting back into the sign of Capricorn is going to stir things up from what? The past. Isn't that kind of what the symbology is trying to tell us today? That there's something from the past? Probably something from the past is going to be revealed that can bring a healing. And I get that because, you know, when planets go retrograde, they're always about going backwards to rehash something, review something, or fix something from the past. And I believe too that people that have planets that are retrograde in their birth chart, that they have something from their past life to review or to heal in this lifetime. It's something that they have to, it's a past life healing. And so now that Saturn's retrograde, but not only retrograde, it just entered back into Capricorn. I have to say Capricorn is the sign that deals with discipline, focus, structure, but in world events, it rules governments. And you know, my God, what is happening around the world in governments? We're not talking about just the United States, right? I mean, the Prime Minister of England stepped down. The ex-Prime Minister of Japan was assassinated. I just saw a video of Sri Lanka. What is going on there? If that isn't a civil war happening in a country, I don't know what is. So this is just the beginning. We're going to have all this chaos all over the world. It's not just in these isolated placements. And, you know, I don't know if you guys saw the video I just put out about Saturn and Jupiter being in Pisces and Saturn being in Capricorn. The last time they were both together in those signs was 1963. And by the way, I did that video a month ago. If you'll notice, I have the same outfit on for all the videos because I sit and do sometimes I do 12 videos in a day because I want to have time off instead of doing videos all the time. You got to know, guys, I have to get ready for these videos. It takes a full day. So I might as well sit there and knock them all out so I can have like 3 or 4 weeks off. So what I'm trying to say is I did do, which people are, it came out the day after the prime minister from Japan was assassinated. But I don't care what people say. I know that I did it a month ago. And I said there'd be an assassination of someone around the world. And there was. But you know what? I think there could be more. So we're not finished with all this. So I'm having these dreams of people from the past, and it's a warning. And I forgot who said it. I think it was Deborah, but we have to just, like when you see the currents coming in the, when you're in a boat, you just have to kind of brace yourself. We're going to be okay. We're going to get through this. And everything that's happening is essential for the changes that are needed. But we have to look at this personally for our own lives too. We're going to be okay. And we're going to come out better, because what is this? Once Mars goes into the nakshatra that Uranus and Rahu are in, Bharani, that is the nakshatra of rebirth. And like I always say, to be born is painful, but you got to go through it to get to the other side and start anew. So yeah, because the whole symbology behind Bharani is the womb of the mother. It's the Yoni, and it is about the birthing process. Mars hasn't gotten there yet, so it's still a lot more to come. But I couldn't believe that these are now residing in the 8th house, because it's almost like a prashna chart. It says prashna right there, but a prashna is like when you do a chart for the time, a question being asked, what is this all going to be about? And that's what we're in this class together to discover. What is this world about? What are we trying to see to help ourselves grow, come together, heal? And so when I pull up the chart for the day, this is what the chart should be revealing, what we're here to learn and grow through. And this, don't forget, the 8th house is the house of transformation and change. We always jump to the worst case scenario, which it is the house of death. But death is just one of the transformations, huge transformations we make in this world. The 8th house also deals with birth. So it deals with birth and death, which are the 2 biggest transformations we make in this world and in our life. This is giant, and this is what's happening right now. When we meet next week, the Senate will probably still be in Virgo, and Mars will have moved up closer to Uranus and Rahu. And once it hits that degree point where it's going to be in Bharani, let me look at that degree point. I should know this more than anybody here, but Bharani's nakshatra is
13 degrees, 20 minutes.
It's like 13 degrees, 20 minutes. Yes, it's going to be when Mars hits into Bharani. What day is that, Shri, that Mars will go into Bharani?
It's the day after. 1 second. Yeah, it's in 3 days from now.
3 days from now?
Yeah.
Okay, so get ready. You're going to see some stuff really ignite when Mars starts into Bharani, because that's a really intense nakshatra. Even Mars being in Ashwini right now is ruled by Ketu, and that's very intense. But altogether, Mars being in Aries is super duper intense. Oh my God. I mean, it's at its strongest sign. I mean, that's a sign that everything that Aries is about is what Mars is about. So Mars is going to be able to produce the results of what Mars is truly about. Action. I mean, things happening fast, blow-ups, fire, weapons, war. I mean, it is a planet of war, but it's also, you know what else that just came to mind? This is really strange. I don't know if this is connected, but probably I look too much at all the advertisements that come my way on the internet. And I noticed that there was a number of athletes that died recently. I noticed on People or something that came up, there was 2 of them. Mars rules athletes. Wow. I think there was one that just died in Frisco. I saw, because I that's what caught my eye, and then they went in talking about another athlete that I think was struck by a car and was killed. So I don't know if that's any relation, but it's interesting to kind of relate everything astrologically, because we learn more that way. But I do like the Mercury and the Sun being in the 10th house. This is powerful, especially Mercury being in Gemini. Gemini is a sign of communications. So this is a good time to get your messages across, to communicate with people. Anyone that you want to hear you, express it to them now while Mercury is in its most favorable sign besides Virgo, but it is in the sign of communications. I love it. I love it when Mercury's there. Take some time out to laugh. I always tell people when Mercury is in Gemini, especially in the birth charts, I always comment that you must have a great sense of humor, because Mercury in Gemini is funny. And, you know, I think I've told you guys this, but I'm going to repeat it. The way that we can get our message across to people is through humor. Because I watched Wayne Dyer, one of my favorite public speakers. I went and saw him one time in person, and I noticed he had a technique when it came to speaking. And it was that he would tell everybody, let me tell you a story. Everyone would lean forward. People love stories. You know, I think I talked about this last week, but I'm going to repeat it again so you remember this. But you know, we're used to bedtime stories, right? We love stories. So he says, let me tell you a story. Right before he delivers the message that he wants you to remember when you go home, he tells a joke and everyone laughs, their whole solar plexus open. And when you're open, you receive. And then he delivers the message that he wants you to remember. So do that technique. If you can. I'm not very funny. I try to be, but I don't think I'm funny. My husband's the one that's funny. That's why I probably married him. But, you know, everyone loves to laugh. And when you open from your solar plexus, you're opened. So make people laugh and then give them the message you want them to remember. That's a cool technique. Now, another thing I want to look at over here is Venus. It's the last day it's going to be in Taurus. So express your affections to your loved ones while Venus is in Taurus. Tomorrow it's going to be in Gemini. It's out of its sign of rulership, but Venus still fares well in Gemini. So it's not going to be it's not going to change to anything bad, but Venus loves to be in Taurus. But you know, probably as Venus shifts to Gemini, that may have more repercussions on the economy, because Venus in Taurus is kind of holding up the economy a little bit, not much. And Saturn going back into Capricorn is definitely that we're going to go backwards. And I think what this is telling us, we're going to discover things from the past that is going to bring out the things that are necessary to heal the future. That's what Saturn in Capricorn is going to do for us. Now, the moon being in Sagittarius, I mean, that's in the sign of the truth. And it's like, yes, what is it? Tomorrow or the next day, of course, we have the full moon. And remember this, always pay attention, especially when you're doing certain things that you want to be prosperous. Always pay attention to the phases of the moon. They're very, very important. So right before the full moon, we have the moon at its brightest, right? So what does that mean? It brings awareness. It lights up the dark night of the sky. In Vedic astrology, we love the full moon. If you have a full moon in your chart, you are blessed because you have the gift of awareness. But when the moon is waxing and it's going to its brightest position, Waxing means it's increasing in light, and it's increasing in light till it hits the full moon. Then on the other side of the full moon, then it starts to decrease in light. So in other words, we're building to build something, to grow, to start new things when the moon is increasing in light. And as it comes to its fullness, this is a great time to get things done. I always used to tell people, if you want to sell your house, tell the real estate agent to put your house on the market about 3 days before the full moon. This is the best time. And a lot of people had their house on the market that wouldn't sell. I would tell them, and I actually got this technique from Cynthia Novak. We used to work together here at the Galactic Center. She would work out of my office. And she would tell me that she would tell real estate agents or people to take their house off the market and put it back on about 3 days before the full moon. And every time it's sold. That's what she told me from her experience. So that's a little tool for your toolbox for those of you that want to help people with real estate, or really anything that you want to make prosperous and happen when right before the moon is going to its fullness. Okay, once it reaches its full moon, that's kind of it's kind of come to its crescendo, and it's too much, and that's why people are crazy around the full moon. But a lot of things, another reason why people could be crazy around the full moon is there are no shadows, right? The full moon's bright, and the shadows are released. Therefore, the people that have done some pretty bad things, that a lot of their stuff may be revealed during that time, and that's why people might go crazy. So that was kind of an idea I thought of. But Jupiter being here in Pisces, it's moving, Neptune's moving away from Jupiter, retrograde, and Jupiter's moving forward. But let me remind everyone, Jupiter's about to station to go retrograde. By the end of this month, I forgot the exact day, I think it's the 28th of July, it will turn retrograde. But it's at 14 degrees. That's the degree that it's standing still on. And
July 28th, Joni.
Yeah, it is the 28th. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I know I do all these videos, and it's normal. I do them and then I forget them, right? And people ask me, when's the full moon? I have to think about it. I did a video on it, but I forgot. So yeah, but remember, when Jupiter is stationing, it's magnified tenfold that we have this power of Jupiter to be able to harness this energy. So use the Jupiter and realize that those of you that do know your chart, what house it's in, because that's the house that it's going to bring some great expansion to. But where I was going with the world, the fact that Neptune's moving away from Jupiter, Jupiter's still in it's stationed, but it's still direct. The oil prices have been starting to come down, but it might be when Jupiter goes retrograde, they may go up again. We'll have to see if that works, because then we have Jupiter moving towards Neptune. Remember, Neptune rules oil and gas. That's why I say that. And Jupiter going with Neptune, I told everyone a year ago, oil prices are going to go out the roof when Jupiter comes to Neptune. And when Mars was in Pisces, that's when it would really escalate, and it did. So I don't think it's going to go up to $1.10 a barrel like it did, or I think it was what, 111 or something like that. It's at its highest point. Mars was there with Neptune and Jupiter. That's what caused it. So if you think about that song, those of you that are old enough, when the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, that does not mean a good thing. But most of y'all probably don't remember that song, but I know you guys remember it that are around my age, the dawning of the age of Aquarius. I'm like, what is that? That does not mean the moon in the 7th house, that this will bring enlightenment. We just had this happen. Did it bring enlightenment? Well, maybe it is bringing enlightenment, because I think all of these blow-ups and all of the chaos is going to purge and bring the truth out. finally, so the world can heal. And that's the messages I'm getting from the symbology. And there's something about to happen from my dreams. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say about the astrology. Shri, anybody have anything to add that I missed with the chart?
Yeah, I found it really interesting, Joni, that today we were talking about dreams of people from the past. And if you look at this chart, the ruler of the 12th house, which is the house of dreams, Sun, is there's a direct aspect from Ketu, and it's exactly at 26 degrees, and Ketu is past.
Wow.
Your past, right? So that's why I was thinking the past couple of days have been really intense with all these dreams of people from the past, you know. But today, this is today's chart when you started this call. So if you think about it, that's what we talked about, all of us. You know?
That's incredible. And what Shri was pointing out, notice this is K2, it's 26 degrees. And K2's aspect is 5 and 9 from itself. I use that aspect. And if you count from K2 to where the sun is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So K2 and the sun are exactly today aspecting each other. So they're connected. And the sun rules the 12th house. In Vedic astrology, the 12th house rules dreams. So, and K2's the past. Incredible. Great observation, Shri. I missed that totally. Incredible. All right. So let me see here. I wanted to now, I wanted to go over what I want you guys to, I got to think of something funny. Tell me a joke so I can make y'all open and then I'll deliver my message. Anybody have a joke right now? I can't think of anything too funny. Okay, you get my message. Y'all laughed by me trying to figure out something funny and I couldn't. So now that you're opened up with your laughter, let me go into the message that I want to give to you. Remember when we go into the law of attraction, I was taking from this book, how to get what we want. And it's from the success principles. And the one that stood out the most was inquire within. I want you guys during this whole week, when you have a question or when you really want something and you have a question, why is this not coming? Why is it not happening? I want you to ask. And that's the other thing. Ask, ask, ask. Always ask. You're not going to get anything unless you ask for it, right? I always used to say, and this saying is so real, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? Because I would always say, with people, as a flight attendant and anybody that's ever been in the service industry, when you go to bed at night, you always remember somebody that asked you for something that you forgot to bring it to them during the day. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to bring that man that packet of Sweet and Low. Oh my God, I forgot to bring that person the cream for their coffee. You think about that when you're going to bed, right? Well, at least I do. It tells me how my thought processes are. But my point with that is that it's the people that rang their call button to let me know that I didn't bring it to them that get it. It's not the people who were quiet and think, oh, I don't want to bother her. Well, they didn't get it. They didn't get their Sweet and Low or their cream for their coffee because I forgot. But my whole point with that is you've got to ask, you've got to be the squeaky wheel to get the oil. And so what I'm telling you to do this week is to ask, ask, ask your higher self for what you want. I want this. So you got to ask for it, and you're not going to get it unless you ask. That's ask and you will receive, that is a saying and is so powerful and so true. But the most important part that I want you to remember to do with this asking is to inquire within. All your answers here. Let me go back to stop sharing. I want to really point out that you have to ask, and your answer, the big answer to what you're asking for is always within you. your higher mind, your higher self, your subconscious mind that you tap into when you truly ask is going to give you the answer. And when you ask, you will receive. So that's the message. And I hope you guys, last week I was talking about transcending our limiting beliefs. And I wonder if anybody here today has anything to say about any of the work that you've been doing in terms of what I'm telling you to practice week in and week out. And yes, I also want you guys to really pay attention to your dreams, your dream state for the next week to come. But please remember to ask and inquire within. That's the most important thing for you to work on this week, to manifest your goals and get direction in your life, to clear up a lot of the confusion that's been going on in ourselves and in our lives. So, in other words, I'm asking, what do these dreams mean? And I'm getting answers, help from you guys and help from, my book of symbols, what's to come. We know what's to come. And actually, I don't even think you have to be an astrologer or a psychic or anything to know that something's about to happen. Something big is about to happen in this world that's going to change everything as we know it. So I want to hand over a mic to anyone else that wants to talk about any of your experiences from the last week's message, if it helped you, if it transformed or changed you, and or the message for this week that we are here to work on to help change our lives. So anyone want to, like I say, I'm handing over the mic right now. Anyone want to comment about anything that you've been experiencing or share for all of us, or anything you're going through that you need to share with us? Please take the time to speak up now.
Okay, this is Janine.
Hi, Janine.
Lately, I've been seeing, when I look at the clock, it's always the needles are the same, like it will be 105 or 210 or 315 or 420. But it's all the time, it's almost every hour it happens. And I don't do it on purpose. I just look at the time and it's like that. 5:20, 6:30, 7:35. And I have an old clock, I don't have the digital one. So I don't know. So I was thinking, well, could be a message of some kind of me doing, I should do something at that specific time or to remind me to. So I've been praying because I didn't know what to do with it.
Yes. So it's all about timing for you. And that's powerful when these numbers are talking to you. And yes, it is time for you to do something. The clock is talking to you. It's time. And I think here's another thing, Janine, that everything is about the synchronicity and the symbols that we are getting. And I always notice, you know what time I always get, and I think it's just my history of always being on airplanes and flying, being a flight attendant. Every time I look at the clock, it's 7:37, or it's 7:47 or 7:27. Those are all aircrafts I used to work on. And I'm not kidding you. And it's like, okay, does that mean I'm going somewhere? And usually it does. So looking at clocks and seeing timing seems like, to me, what you were just explaining, there's 5-minute increments that keep coming. So it's telling you, you got to get going. The universe is telling you it's time for you to start doing that which will manifest what you want, or the direction or your purpose that is important right now in your life. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because time for me has been kind of running my life. So time is very, yes, I can see that.
Very
Yes.
symbolic,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's like there was this book I read years ago, and somebody mentioned it also in the chat about 11:11. You know, how many times have we looked at the clock and it's 11:11? You see all those ones. It just like that just stands out, like it's purposeful, meaningful. And then they also say that when you look at a clock and there's numbers that are repeated, such as 222 or 333 or 444, all of that is extremely symbolic for in the way of numbers. 11:11. Okay, that's the universe's way of talking to us. Say, hey, pay attention. Something you need to note at this time. What's going on? Pay attention. There's something going on in your life that you have to wake up to. That's what I think when you see those. And it's not only to clocks. You can see license plates like that, or just looking at billboards, and all of a sudden these numbers pop out at you. It's the universe's way of communicating with us through symbols. Okay.
Yeah. And specifically this week, when you say look at the symbols this week.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's like, so it's like, it's appropriate for this week to look.
Exactly. It's very appropriate for this week. You are right. Okay. Anyone else want to add anything? I mean, you guys have the opportunity to ask me things, anything you want. I know there's so many of you that want to speak up, but you're hesitant. I know.
Okay. So I cannot believe we're talking about dreams and all this stuff, because it's just so weird. Because last night I woke up twice with kind of disturbing dreams. I didn't want to share it earlier because I don't even know what it's about, but this dream was me in a room and I wanted to leave, and the power just went out. It was like someone took a breaker and turned off everything in my house. Like it just, was weird. And this last week has been like stuff that has been coming up for me that I thought I resolved, like issues with my mother, issues with my childhood that I thought, okay, I've dealt with this already. Like, why is it coming up again? So this has been very helpful to just, and I hate being emotional. I've always been one of the people that are like, oh, she's crying again. What's wrong? Just be strong. And, it's so unlike me to be like this. So I just feel like I'm working on a lot of stuff. And it's definitely helping, Yeah. But it's like I'm turning into somebody else. It's like I'm turning into this emotional, more sensitive. Even my fiance is just like, what's going on with you? You're nicer. You're more girly. I'm like, this is just strange. But I think this class has been really helpful in that way. So.
Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate that, because what somebody else told me, and it's essentially what you're telling me right now, is this class reminds us every week. It gets us back on track to our spiritual purpose. Instead of we go off in our lives, we completely forget about everything we talked about, right? And week after week, we get worse and worse. But this brings us back to remembering what we need to be reminded of. And that is, we're all here for our spiritual growth. And do we think about that when we get involved in our jobs and our, coworkers, with anything to do with our family? Oh my God, family is the most karmic thing of all, because it hurts us the most. It presses all of our buttons. big time. I don't know if we ever get over what we think we've gotten over with our family. Really and truly, we think we've gotten over it, but hey, how can we truly, truly let go of some of the things that our family were involved in that press all of our buttons? I mean, the family, that's why I think the biggest healings come from our family, our karma with our family. It's always there in the horoscope and charts. By the way, I love your earrings.
Me too.
Yeah.
I got them from your beautiful collection. I love all of it. So yeah.
Thank you. I noticed that they're one of my favorites. I like big earrings, especially when you have long hair. Your earrings don't show up unless you have big earrings. So yeah, I love those earrings. But you know, it's our family that really, you know, makes us go crazy the most. And you know, right when we think we're over it, something does usually trigger it. And that means, you know what? I don't know that we ever get over some of the hurts. Like, well, you know, like my parents dying, I'll never get over that completely, but time does heal and, you know, you move on and you don't think about it all the time. But there's still something within us that there's a sore spot. I always tell people there's like a scab that heals over it. So, you know, you got this scab and yes, it heals, but there's still kind of a sore spot there always. So don't feel bad that you've done something wrong because you haven't gotten over it. You thought you did and something else comes back. But we're all going through this right now. We all have things that are coming back for us to heal. And the only way we do heal is through healing our past. That's what makes us different, makes us have a different perspective in life and a different future. So that's why, you know, your boyfriend, your fiance is saying, hey, you're different. Because you are, this is where the true work comes in. You think that the true work is easy. No, really and truly, the true work is painful. And maybe that's what the purging of this nakshatra I was talking about. It's like, to be born is truly painful. If you've, you know, those of us that delivered babies before, I don't, you know, natural or whatever, it doesn't feel good. I'm sorry. But once it's over with, that's the newness, that's the rebirth. So I feel like you're going through a birth, Jenny, that, you know, this is painful, but you got to go through it. Once you get out to the other side and you're transformed, then that's when you'll be glad you went through it. You know how many people go through horrible things and it takes them a while, but when they get to the other side, they say, you know what, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad I went through that because I couldn't be who I am or where I am unless I went through that very difficult experience. And everyone that is a major success in the world, they've had to go through major losses because that's how they learn. They learn what not to do and how to be successful. But people, you know, I heard that the guy that started Walmart, richest man in the world, and is actually his daughter is the richest woman in the world right now in Fort Worth, Texas. But my point is, he lost everything and he mortgaged his house to begin Walmart. And that's where it happened, you know? And I always tell people, say, oh, I'm too old to, you know, to do this. Or I say, you know what, Colonel Sanders with Kentucky Fried Chicken, he didn't make it till his 80s. So don't ever think you're too old or you can't learn or any of these things, but we're going to learn through painful experiences. It's just the way life is. So granted that, you know, you're going through pain and pain hurts. We don't like it, but we got to. I know, I don't like it either, but you know what? We have to go through some of these things to get to the other side. And I think that goes for what we're going through on this planet right now. And yeah, get through it. Get through this painful experience with family. Everyone here knows family has a way of pressing all of our buttons. And, but it's an opportunity. Remember this is an opportunity for growth and change and transformation. So think of it as that, and those tears will start to go away, I promise. Okay. All right. Anyone else? We got just a few minutes left here. If anyone else wants to share.
you did get my apology, right? For stalking you for the last 2 weeks.
No, I didn't even know you were trying to get a hold of me. That's why it didn't bother me.
Well, I had no idea, but that's how much this class means to me. That's how much this series means to me. I had no idea until I sat down last week and I couldn't get on. I was like, what's going on? I mean, it like flipped a switch in me. I like had to like recenter and I was like, what is wrong with me? So the whole following week, I was like, they're not responding. What's going on? So I really got in my head, and I think it was Deborah that brought up fear, and I realized that that there's so many things in my life right now. I have to get out of fear. Like, it's just ridiculous. But I just wanted to tell you, I'm not a crazy person, and I just was like,
no, I know that, but
thank you.
Here's the thing: the fact that you kept pursuing and persisting, it's like the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So here you are. So I'm glad you pursued and persisted, because you wouldn't be here, right?
I know. Real quick, I think it was if this happens to anybody, my card was dropped in the center console of my son's car, so I had to get a new debit card. It took 10 days. So I had to switch over to a different credit card on file and then switch it again when I got my new one. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it may have like put a bump in that, but I constantly like switched my card on your shooting stars thing so that it wouldn't mess it up. But apparently it messed it up. So.
Okay, well, you're good now. So don't worry.
I love you all.
Thank you. All right, so unless somebody has anything quick to say, anyone else? Okay, then we will close today. And I love all you guys. This is getting to be where we are becoming a close community. And I love seeing all your faces every single week. And go out, conquer the world, and pay attention to your dreams. Ask, ask, ask. Go within for that message to get your answers, and think about the symbology all this week. Probably you'll start seeing more circles and things that represent past, bringing the past into the future, and the future learns from the past, and all those good symbols that we got from today's lesson. So go out and conquer the world. And oh, by the way, one more thing, I'll probably be telling you this all the time. Anna Bay, check out Anna Bay, her website. It's very entertaining. It's not what it appears. She is a very spiritual person. I love her. I talk to her all the time. And we're so honored that she's going to be doing this, because she has over 1 million subscribers to her YouTube channel. But what she does is, everything that she has manifested in her life, she says she's done it through the law of attraction. She's our speaker at the end of this month. So look forward to that. And everyone go out, have a beautiful week. I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss next week. So thank you, everyone. Namaste.